The woman stood in front of seat 2A, one hand resting firmly on the headrest as though she were guarding it. "Don't sit here," Lillian Shaw said. "This is my seat." Marcus Reed held up his boarding pass. "Mine says 2A." He was 45, wearing a dark travel jacket and clean sneakers, carrying only one bag. No watch worth noticing. He had reserved the window seat in advance, hoping for a quiet flight from Phoenix to Dallas. He had not planned on this moment, yet he recognized it instantly. He had seen it too many times before. A flight attendant stepped forward from the galley. Lena Foster was young and neat, a tablet resting against her hip. She looked at Lillian, then at Marcus, and her eyes performed the quiet measurement he had learned to expect: jacket, sneakers, face, before settling on a conclusion. Instead of asking Lillian to check her own boarding pass, Lena turned to him. "Sir, the system shows you're on standby," she said. "This seat belongs to a full-fare passenger. I'm going to need you to move back to 3C. There it was. Standby. Across the aisle, a young white man sat undisturbed, never asked to prove a thing. Lillian, in her cream blazer, received a gentle Mrs. Shaw. Marcus received standby. He did not raise his voice. Long ago, he had taught himself that raising it only handed people the story they were already prepared to tell. "Pull up the manifest," he said evenly. "What does my fare class say? If I'm standby, it will say standby." Lena's thumb hovered above the tablet, but she never pulled it up. Marcus already knew what the screen would show. His ticket was full fare, confirmed, paid in advance. The manifest listed the fare class beside the name. A standby flag on a full fare ticket did not appear by itself. Someone had placed it there. He filed the fact away, the way he filed everything, for later. He also noted the time and the name on Lena's badge. Marcus was not simply a tired passenger. He was an investigator with the Department of Transportation, the office that oversees how airlines treat the people who fly with them. He was on this flight because a complaint had been filed about this exact route. His job was to find out whether it was true. It was turning out to be remarkably easy. Lillian folded her arms. "I fly this route all the time. Everyone knows I sit up front." "That may be," Marcus replied, "but the seat I paid for is 2A. Lena lowered her voice. "Sir, please don't make this difficult. It's still first class. Same meal, same service. We can offer you miles for the trouble." "Then move her," Marcus said, nodding toward Lillian. "Her ticket is the one in the wrong seat." Lena's mouth opened. Nothing came out. A few rows back, an older woman with silver hair had stopped pretending to read. Beatrice Lang watched the full fare passenger being recast as standby and did not like what she was seeing. A man across the aisle had lowered his phone, thumb motionless, listening. Half the cabin had heard every word. No one spoke. Marcus counted them silently, as he always did. The quiet was not peace. It was the sound of people deciding it was easier to stay uninvolved. Lillian stepped closer, her perfume sharp in the recycled air. "Some of us have connections with this airline. Young man, take the seat they're offering before this turns into something you'll regret." Marcus almost smiled. People who had never been diminished by the system were often the quickest to warn others about embarrassment. He looked back at Lena. "I'd like you to open the manifest and read my fare class out loud. That's all. If it says standby, I'll move." Lena glanced toward the galley where the other attendant was watching. "Let me get my colleague." A second attendant approached. Ryan Mercer was tall, his jaw already tight. He listened first to Lillian's version, the way these moments usually unfolded. Marcus watched the story change shape the instant it reached the right ears. "Sir," Ryan said, "once the crew gives an instruction, we expect passengers to cooperate." "An instruction has to be reasonable," Marcus answered. "Asking the full fare passenger to move so a standby flag you entered can remain in place isn't reasonable. It isn't even real." Ryan's face hardened. He did not enjoy being corrected, especially while phones began rising above the seatbacks. Marcus took out his own phone slowly and visibly and made a short note. He did not call anyone. He did not announce who he was. He simply recorded the time and turned the screen off. That unsettled Ryan more than shouting ever could. Most people argued this man was documenting everything. Marcus set his carry-on beside 2A and regarded the two attendants with calm, steady patience that seemed to shrink the aisle around them. He was not a passenger asking for a favor. He was the person the government sends when a place stops treating people like people. And he already knew the manifest would say exactly what they were trying not to say. Ryan Mercer decided to make it official, the way people do when they want a problem to belong to someone else. He tapped at the tablet and began building the report for the flight. Marcus could hear the shape of it in the words Ryan muttered as he typed, "Standby passenger, refusing reassignment, non-compliant." It was a clean trick. Take a man defending the seat he paid for, fold him into 3 words, and suddenly he becomes the problem. Marcus had watched it happen his entire life. There was always a softer word for blame when you refused to shrink. "You're logging me as standby," Marcus said. "I'm not standby. My ticket is full fare, confirmed. You can see that on the same screen you're typing into." "I'm documenting that you won't follow crew direction," Ryan said. "Direction to give up the seat assigned to me," Marcus replied. "That's not a direction. That's pressure." The older woman with silver hair had heard enough. Beatrice Lang spoke from a few rows back, her voice trembling slightly but steady. "I saw his boarding pass. Why is he the only one being checked for standby? Did anyone ask to see my fare class?" Lillian turned on her. "Nobody asked you. You were fine when everyone was looking at him." Beatrice answered, "Now that the truth is turning around, you want quiet." For 6 people in that cabin, no one had spoken until now. Beatrice was the first to break the silence. Once she did, the room began to thaw. That was when a senior crew member came forward from the back. Isabel Cruz, the lead attendant in her 40s, had heard the words standby and reassignment and come to see why they were being used on a confirmed passenger. She held out her hand for the tablet. Ryan hesitated, then gave it to her. Isabel read it, then looked up. "His fare class says full. Confirmed, right here. I'm not going to sign off on a standby flag stuck onto a full fare ticket. That's not what the manifest shows." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Isabel, it's not—" "No," she said. "It's not standby. I won't put my name on it." For the first time, the certainty cracked. Marcus kept his voice level and asked the kind of question a person asks when they know the system from the inside. Who has the access to change a fare class on the manifest? And what's the procedure for reassigning a full fare seat? Because it isn't supposed to be another passenger. Then the captain arrived from the rear. Captain Victor Hale, gray at the temples, carried the walk of a man used to being listened to. He looked at the phones, at Lillian, at Marcus sitting calm beside 2A. "What's the problem?" he asked. Ryan spoke first. "Standby passenger refusing crew instruction, Captain." The captain looked at Marcus. His eyes moved to the sneakers, the jacket, then to Lillian's pearls. He thought he was being neutral. He was not. Marcus had felt that exact glance in 100 rooms before. "Sir," the captain said, "I understand it's frustrating. To keep us on schedule, I'd appreciate it if you could be flexible." "Flexible is when both sides bend," Marcus said. "This is one side being asked to move. Open the manifest and look at my fare class first." The captain held out his hand for the tablet. Isabel gave it to him. He read it. His brow tightened. He had seen it now. Full fare confirmed. Marcus watched him sit with the discomfort of a man who had already nudged the wrong person toward the back. Lillian felt the room turning and tried to take it back. "Captain, I fly this route constantly. He's been hostile since he boarded." "He hasn't raised his voice once," Beatrice said. Lillian's face flushed. "You people always make everything—" She stopped herself, but the cabin had already heard where the sentence was going. A phone in row 4 tilted higher. Marcus did not react. He had learned the difference between anger and power a long time ago. Anger wants to shout. Power waits. "Captain," Marcus said, "I'd like the manifest and the change history on that standby flag, when it was added and from which account." The captain looked at him a second longer than he needed to. Then he pulled it up. The history loaded on the screen. The ticket, full fare confirmed, booked in advance. The standby flag added manually from a crew account not long before. The captain stared at it. Isabel leaned in to see. Lena looked at the floor. Marcus said nothing yet. He simply watched the record show what the crew had spent time trying to talk over. "Captain," Marcus said quietly, "before this goes any further, I'd like you to keep that screen open. Don't let anyone clear it." "Why?" the captain asked. Marcus reached into his jacket, but not for a phone this time. "Because in a few minutes," he said, "this stops being a seat and starts being something your airline is going to have to answer for." He took out a slim card holder and handed one card to Captain Hale. "My name is Marcus Reed. I'm an investigator with the Department of Transportation. I handle passenger protection cases. I'm on this flight because a complaint was filed about this route, and I've been documenting it since I boarded." He was not a CEO. He did not own anything. He did not run the airline software. He did not need to. The thing in front of them was not a powerful man pulling rank. It was a federal investigation, and it already had what it needed. Lena Foster's face went pale, the color draining from it all at once. The captain looked at the card, then at the screen still open on the tablet. The full fare ticket, the standby flag added manually not long before. "This is the manifest," Marcus said. "My ticket is full fare, confirmed, booked in advance. The standby flag wasn't on it when I booked. It was typed in tonight from a crew account, after I sat down. That's not a system error. That's somebody deciding I didn't belong in this seat and changing the record to match." There it was, the turn of it. The standby flag Lena had used to move him and the non-compliant report Ryan had started were now the proof of exactly what the law forbids. They had built the case against themselves and handed it to him. Ryan tried first, the way the senior person always does. "People refuse crew instructions all the time. We were keeping the flight on schedule." Marcus looked at him. "Schedule isn't part of my investigation. A full fare ticket flagged standby to move the passenger. That is. So is the report you started calling me non-compliant for sitting in my own seat." Ryan's face hardened. His eyes went to the door, the galley, anywhere but the screen. Lillian stood up from where she had been pretending not to listen. "This is insane. I made a mistake with the seat, and now he's trying to ruin people's jobs." "You didn't make a mistake," Marcus said, not loudly. "You saw your boarding pass. You knew it said 3C. You made an assumption. Then you defended it. Then you said, 'You people.' When the truth stopped going your way, none of that was a mistake." Lillian's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The consequences did not come down like a hammer. They arrived in plain, hard steps, and they did not depend on Marcus being anyone special. His findings went to his office. His supervisor, Elena Vargas, signed off on a formal determination, a passenger protection violation. It pulled the airline into a corrective agreement they could not refuse, mandatory training, an independent complaint line that did not run through the crew or a regional office, and refunds and written apologies to passengers who had been moved or reclassified the same way. Then came the part that reached beyond this single flight. The agreement required the airline to review manifests across the route. The same pattern appeared on other flights. Full fare passengers quietly flagged standby or reassigned. The same kind of passenger turned out of the seat they paid for. The truth had been sitting in the system the whole time. It simply took someone with the authority to open it. Lena and Ryan were placed on leave pending the investigation, moved there by the findings rather than by anyone pointing a finger. Lillian made one last try. "I'm a loyal customer. I spend thousands with this airline every year." Elena Vargas, on the line by then, answered her plainly. "How much you spend isn't part of this. A full fare ticket getting flagged standby to move the passenger. That is." Captain Hale set the tablet down. "I should have read the manifest the moment it came up," he said. "I'm sorry." "An apology isn't the part that matters," Marcus said. "The part that matters is what you do the next time. The record's right there, and a quiet passenger is in front of you." The captain's role went into the file too. Not as the one who typed the false entry, but as the one who told the right man to be flexible with the truth sitting on his own screen. He would own that, and he would sign off on the new rule that came out of it. Make sure the next passenger does not have to be a federal investigator before someone checks the record. That stayed in the cabin longer than any apology. Isabel Cruz, the lead attendant who had refused to sign the false flag, and Beatrice Lang, the passenger who had broken the silence, were both named in the file for telling the truth when it would have been easier not to. Marcus did not fire anyone. He could not. And that was the point. He wrote down what was true and let the law and the record do the rest. The passenger whose complaint had put him on that flight received a call and an apology and word that the report they had almost not bothered to file had changed the whole route. And that was the thing that stayed with him. None of it would have moved if the cabin had stayed quiet. Half a row had watched him get turned into a standby and said nothing. Beatrice was the one who finally spoke. Isabel was the one who refused to put her name on the lie. The record cracked it open, but a record only matters when someone is willing to stop looking away. The flight departed later than scheduled. As the plane climbed over the desert and the city below turned into a web of gold, Marcus sat in 2A, the seat that had always been his, and looked out the window. A ticket had already said, in plain print, that he paid full fare for that seat. The only people who forgot to read it were the ones who typed standby over the top. He never needed anyone to know who he was. He just needed a record that could speak, and a few people willing to stop being quiet. For the ones who had already given up their seats and walked to the back, the lesson remained.